A wooden deck groans, cracks, and hundreds of people drop as a single mass, not onto solid ground, but into a black tidal current. The most impossible part, the burning ship actually reaches land. The bow hits the beach. The water at the front is shallow enough to stand in. It does not save them. The angle of beaching is exactly what seals the trap. By the end, 957 people will be gone in broad daylight, within sight of the New York City shoreline. Until September 11, 2001, this will stand as the worst single disaster in New York's history. June 15, 1904, the East River. The steamboat General Slocum is carrying 1,358 passengers on a church picnic celebrating the end of the school year. Nearly all women and children from a German neighborhood called Little Germany. It is a Wednesday. Most of the men are at work. The passengers are dressed in Sunday best: corsets, layered cotton skirts, heavy leather boots. For people who cannot swim, and almost no one on board can, this is not clothing. It is ballast. The ship is 264 feet of dry pine and white oak. 13 years of paint and flammable varnish over every surface. No fireproof barriers. 3 open decks, bow to stern. Below the main deck sits a storage room packed with kerosene, oil, paint, and barrels of glassware cushioned in dry hay. Smoke begins seeping through the forward deck boards. A boy spots it first and alerts a deckhand. The deckhand opens the storage room door to check. Oxygen floods the smoldering space. The fire blows outward. The crew grabs the fire hose, cheap, unlined linen that has been hanging on the wall for over a decade. The moment water pressure hits the fabric, the hose explodes. A newer replacement hose is aboard the ship. It has never been connected, never used. 5 weeks earlier, 2 federal inspectors boarded this vessel. The law required a pressure test, 100 pounds per square inch through every fire hose. If they had turned the valve, the rotten linen would have shredded in their hands. The ship would never have sailed. They signed the certificate anyway. Now the fire is loose, and the captain makes the decision that changes the physics of everything that follows. Captain William Van Schaick does not beach the ship at the nearest shore. He later testified he feared the shallow rocks and oil storage along the closer banks. He orders full speed toward North Brother Island, a quarantine hospital farther upriver. The physics do not care about his reasons. Think of a charcoal chimney starter, that steel tube you use to light a grill. Air funnels through the coals and turns sparks into a roaring fire in minutes. Now, lay it on its side, stretch it to 264 feet, pack it with 1,300 people, and drive it forward at 15 miles per hour. That is what General Slocum becomes. The ship's own motion rams air into the bow and blasts the flames horizontally through every open deck. The faster the captain drives, the harder the fire pulls. The steamboat is no longer fighting a fire, it is feeding one. Smoke blinds the forward decks. Women grab children. The crowd has only one direction to move: backward, away from the heat. Within minutes, most of the passengers are pressed together at the far end of a burning ship. In the blinding smoke, mothers reach for life preservers mounted along the railings. They look solid, they feel light. But the cork inside, over a decade of salt air and sun, has broken down into powder. Drop a bag of cork dust into water. It does not repel liquid. It drinks it. It gets heavier. Mothers strap these vests onto their children and lower them over the side to escape the heat. The vests do not hold. Within seconds, the weight pulls them below the surface. The equipment meant to save them becomes the thing that takes them. The lifeboats are not launched. Not one. The crew is untrained. No one on board has ever run a fire drill. Then, General Slocum reaches North Brother Island. The bow drives into shallow mud. To the passengers choking on smoke, the green lawns and brick hospital buildings look like salvation. It is the final trick. The island's shoreline drops off sharply underwater. The bow grounds in shallow water, survivable, walkable. But the fire drove everyone away from the bow 10 minutes ago. The great mass of passengers is packed at the stern, and the stern hangs over a sharp underwater drop-off, deep water, and a strong tidal current directly beneath them. The fire herded them there. The geometry of the beach locks them in. The starboard upper deck is holding hundreds of passengers. The weight of the crowd exceeds what the structure can bear. The deck snaps. Hundreds of women and children fall in a single tangled mass into the river. Their clothing soaks through in seconds. Corsets lock around the ribs. Leather boots drag straight down. Panic turns people into obstacles. Non-swimmers grab swimmers and pull them down. 11-year-old Willie Keppler hits the deep water. He sees the chaos around him and understands. The real danger is not the river. It is the hands around him. He kicks hard, not toward shore, but away from the crowd. That decision is what keeps him alive. The next morning, he walks home and finds his own name on the list of the lost. The ship saves almost no one from within. Tugboat crews drive straight into the wreckage and pull survivors from the water. Doctors from the island hospital wade into the river in their uniforms. Nearly every life saved that day is saved from outside. When the smoke clears, the math of this disaster turns human instinct inside out. The few who stayed near the bow, near the fire, had shallow water between them and solid ground. They had a chance. Those who ran from the flames reached the stern and dropped into deep current wearing clothes that became weights and vests that became anchors. The weapon of this disaster was not fire. It was position. 957 gone, 955 passengers, 2 crew. Of 30 crew members, 28 walked away. The crew knew the ship. The passengers were visitors on a picnic. Captain Van Schaick was the only person who went to prison. 10 years, later pardoned. The owners were charged. None served time. The inspectors were removed. The system prosecuted its lowest available target and moved on. Little Germany never recovered. Mourning ribbons hung from every door. A neighborhood built over 50 years broke apart within a decade. After Slocum, Congress rewrote the rules. Annual inspections became mandatory. Inspectors gained the power to destroy defective equipment on site. Life preserver standards were overhauled. Wooden excursion steamers began disappearing from service. The lesson seemed to hold. In 2019, a small dive boat caught fire off the California coast. 34 people were lost below deck. Both emergency exits led through the same compartment, already engulfed. The vessel had passed its most recent Coast Guard inspection. The wood is gone. The cork is gone. The inspectors have changed. The paperwork still passes.